before we talk about archetypes, when someone asks you what you do for a living, what's your favorite way to answer?
Well, it depends who asks, but if it's like a non-musician, I'll just say music, and
Right.
leave it at that. But if somebody asks me more, I'll say I play the cello and I do this, and then I say I also compose and write stuff for TV and media,
Mm,
so commercial stuff and whatever I can do really, because that's what you have to do to make a living with music.
absolutely. I 100% agree with you. I always think about also my career as like a pie, and then you got
Mm,
composing, you got maybe production music, you got teaching, you got
pretty much me.
recording,
Yeah,
and because it is challenging to make a living as a composer and musician. So I
definitely,
think your
definitely.
approach is super valuable.
Yeah, I mean, I've often well, 10 years ago when I was sort of well, actually longer now. It's probably more like 15. I would usually kind of, if I get asked to do something that I'm not too comfortable in doing, I would just accept and then learn how to do it and just try and trust in the fact that I could learn how. I would just check tutorials,
Mm.
find out how I'm going to do this job to the best of my ability, and then I was always surprise myself, and I can do it, and then that's a new thing now that I can do. I think that's the way when
Yeah,
doing
say
anything.
yes and then figure it out.
Yeah, you never want to say no, I can't because I never have. Like if you start going down that road, it's just yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And
you
then
never get anywhere.
you mentioned you played on a lot and composed for a lot of things like Nosferatu to Poirot. So which project changed you the most as a musician and why?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, yeah, because it's complicated. Even I think even my wife doesn't understand really where I'm at with each different thing because it's so kind of subtle. So like with Nosferatu, I performed on it and improvised.
Mm.
But it was my friend Daniel Elms, composer, who's co-composer, um, who got me onto the project, and I was super happy to do it. It was a kind of one of those ones that fit perfectly into what I would want to
Mm.
do anyway. And a very strange thing that I was asked to do, that they sent me a YouTube of one of the old, I think the original Nosferatu,
Okay.
and there was a scene with sleep apnea sounds where a guy was having the guy's having night terrors, so waking up, and they told me it's 10 seconds. They gave me a timestamp, 10 seconds. This sound. Can you do this on the cello? And I recorded at home like some examples, and he sent it to other composer Robin Carolan, and they listened to it and they liked what I did. So then we went to Air Studios with like 100 mics,
Wow.
and I just basically improvised on this. Well, among other things, I also played like a few other cues, but that was the thing I remember most, and kind of improvised on this, like trying to create the voice
Yeah.
with the cello, and improvise on that, and kind of give it kind of direction and energy, and actually, weirdly enough, that's actually something that you're doing anyway, is recreating voice. You're always trying to sing and speak with the instrument
Mm.
anyway. It's actually not so different from classical music, even though it sounds wild compared with.
Yeah, you're right, because
Mm,
the cello is so lyrical, and the range is immense, so it
mm,
can really it's really so suitable to recreate actually there. But it's so interesting what you said about pushing boundaries, and is this something that you do a lot in general, like when you approach the cello, like do you think more about playing it, or also like in this case maybe trying things that you've never done before?
um, it depends what I'm playing, or what kind of
Mm.
thing I'm playing. So if I'm playing a classical music by a composer, I'm trying to figure out what the composer wanted
Mm.
only, and trying to look into the score and figure out what performers might have done in the composer's day, to get an understanding of what might be meant by these kind of minimal
Mm.
markings. So that's the classical side. with this side, the free improv side, um, it it's kind of just about conveying an energy.
Mm,
So I try to not think of my hands or anything physical. I just try to just sort of go into some sort of flow state and forget everything,
mm.
almost close eyes and just do something.
That's
And
so.
then kind of like whatever happens, whatever comes out is the inspiration for the next thing.
Mm,
And you're trying to just build a kind of type of energy and just build a direction through more of a subliminal, subconscious kind of astral sort of connection kind of way, I
I
guess.
love that.
And
Love that.
trust the hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you need to be a master of your instrument to do that as well, because to close your
As much
eyes
as you can.
and trust your instinct, and is because you're not thinking about the technical problems. You're not thinking, okay, this is an E flat. You already know that it's
Mm.
there. You don't need to think about where you're gonna place the hands. So your mind is free to explore and try things that you've never done before. But then to
Yeah.
reach that level, you need a lot of knowledge, I think, and experience.
Yeah. I think, yeah, it must be. I mean, I know that if I'm doing an improvisation for somebody, because I work with composers like that, and I know that I need to be like quite hot on practice. So I do a lot of preparation,
Mm,
like scales and just sound production and just basic stuff before
mm,
I'll go into doing that stuff, because I know that like it's kind of like there's a composer called Lachenmann, who is famous for I can't exactly, it's called acoustic music concrete.
okay,
So it's
yeah,
kind of like music concrete, but without using instruments. And he's very particular in each sound. People, I've never worked with him. I'd love to, but I know
yeah.
people that have worked with him, and they say that he's very precise. And he's a violinist. That's why I do this. And he shows them exactly how to create the certain sound. So it's very, so it's not enough just to kind of like there
Mm,
on an instrument. Without, you need to be, the sounds have to have like a certain quality to them and a character to them, and to do that it has to have a the kinetic movement needs to be right in order to
mm,
get the the quality of sound out. So yeah, that's where my approach is. I want it to be, yeah, like characterized and precise. Well, precise is a weird word, but certainly characterized and projecting. And to do
mm,
that, it needs technique. So you need to practice, yeah,
mm.
to do it.
And that's great to hear. And in a way, it makes me feel like about what I'd like to ask. How do you get involved with sonic cinema? Because it seems everything you're saying about all of these aspects of the cello and your experiments kind of seems to point into this towards this collaboration.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't thinking about it. I actually, I mean, what because I kind of, I offer this thing for composers. I've been working with a few, where I give them a kind of a sort of customized toolbox of improvised sounds, free improv sounds based on their cues. So
Mm,
they would give me their first mapping for a certain cue, with all the energy and the crescendo where it should be, and all the energy mapped out, and I would just kind of enhance that with going into sort of, yeah, like I've just mentioned, just trying to forget everything and just listening to it and trying to enhance the energy that's already there. Um, so I thought one day, actually on my Instagram, I don't have a video which kind of demonstrates that really. I always say that I do that, and I know I can do it, but I don't really have anything that shows it. So one day I thought, I'm going to make something with crazy video with effects. And I put like this spectral granulator on the cello, and just let it all happen. And I made a 3-minute improv based on that, uploaded it, and then, yeah, like, I don't know, 2 weeks later, Louis contacted me and said they seen
Mm.
this video, and obviously they've seen a Nosferatu and stuff. So he asked me would I be interested in doing a library with them, and to be honest, like my first thought wasn't like not sure because all of these sounds that I've been working on kind of like my whole life really, like whole cello
Mm.
career, I've always been into sound. I've always had kind of a wide taste in different music and been interested in kind of lucid abstract sound. So I've been doing this for a long time, so it's very personal. The classical side of things is kind of I've been lucky enough to learn from like actually incredible people, and I'm just grateful that they've imparted that knowledge. But this stuff is all personally just me. I've figured out everything, and so the idea of giving it
Mm.
presenting it and giving it away was a sort of like but then yeah, I kind of thought, yeah, I mean why not, why not just show this stuff and get it out into the world in a sort of
Well,
in a
I'm
one
really glad
yeah.
you you changed your mind, and because I think
Yeah,
it's a really wonderful library.
great.
So basically,
I mean, it
after
sounds great what you've done with it, by the way.
thank you.
I,
Well,
I was so happy when I saw it. Like all of the sounds that came out of it, I was.
yeah, I cannot take credit
Uh,
for that. I but like for the actual like putting everything together, but it was a
uh,
genuine pleasure to when actually first I first listened some tests. I was like, "Whoa, this is like something I haven't heard before," and it sounds
nice.
super useful from a composer's perspective because I'm always
You.
drawn to, especially the movements, to the rhythmic pulse. Uh,
Yeah,
they feel so alive, though. So I was wondering,
yeah.
like, so from the chat to the library, how much of that recording process was planned, or and how much, because you mentioned, sometimes you close your eyes and go with the flow. So how much was planned and how much was like in a way improvised?
So we kind of had a few calls with Thomas and Louis, and where I had the cello, and I kind of was suggesting things and playing stuff to them. And from there, we all kind of suggested, "Oh, this could be useful. This would be good." And it was all sort of a kind of collaborative. The way it was organized was quite collaborative in a way.
Mm,
I was just playing them everything that I had, and then they would sometimes they would come back and say, "Do you think we should have this?" And I said a couple of times, "Well, I don't really get asked for that
mm,
like ever, and I never really do it, and I don't really see the
potential, like,
yeah, the potential with that." And also kind of like, what is this thing that we're doing as well
mm,
was a kind of important discussion. So Thomas made a really good point that it should make sense in and of itself, so that whatever we present it as, it should fulfill the goal of what we say it is, which I think is really important for everything actually that
mm,
you're doing. It's a simple but very useful thing to keep in mind.
mm,
So the idea with this one was that it would be something kind of a personal thing for me, something that I would
mm,
do if I was asked to create a kind of pack for like that, the thing that I would do, and the sounds that I would go to, and the sounds that I
mm.
would make.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so rather than being a cello library per se, it's more of a sort of um, yeah, kind of artisan. But that's not really the
Mm,
word, but sort of very sort of individual sort of take on free improv. It's more of an energy that we're trying to get across, and it
mm.
happens to be on the cello.
Yeah, yeah.
It
I
happens
think
to
the
be.
energy definitely comes across.
Nice.
There's so much. First, I can tell you this: it feels really cohesive. I think your playing style and your personality really comes through when you play. It feels like, yeah, this is the same player. And I think also that because you have a background as a composer, it was such a useful thing in a way because
Yeah.
as a composer what might be useful or not, like what sounds can work and when. And so when I played, actually,
Yeah.
like I can in basically every patch I can feel so much potential, and I keep thinking, oh, this could work so well in this scene. And then you add snapshots, you add the warp slider, and in fact it really feels like there's so much
Yeah.
stuff like movements, gestures, statements, suspensions. It's like such a rich package of
Nice.
beautiful, compelling, interesting, and original sounds that, yeah, I just felt really like a privilege that I have access to these sounds, because, yeah, they're
Nice.
just beautiful.
Oh, great. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, I'm also really looking forward to trying it because I love the native instruments, the snapshots and stuff. And I have Reactor,
Mm,
not quite. I think I'm going to get Kontakt to try
yeah, yeah.
this week. But yeah, just on that, I think because I've always had like quite a wide taste, like since school, and I think I've been thinking about this quite a bit recently. And I think what composing and doing art in general, sort of quite a big part of it comes down to like just the taste
Mm,
um, of the person. Like, so for me, I've always since I've been in school, I've been listening to, like, I was really into electronic music duo Alltecker and Warp
mm,
Records in school. I was mad on Alltecker. I still love them, and it's like this kind of very futuristic. I once went to a show and asked them if they would like a cello player, and they laughed at me because they don't use any acoustic instruments. It's just all futuristic sounding kind of beats from another dimension kind of thing. And I
yeah,
love this idea. And also like or completely classical music. I like kind of breakbeat. I'm into like old school jungle and stuff. I love
mm,
going to raves and stuff as well. I have like an understanding and a kind of, yeah, sort of very wide taste over a lot of things, which kind of helps me to see what needs to be done on a
yeah,
certain
yeah, yeah, yeah.
project. And certainly with this cello playing, it's kind of like obviously inspired by, yeah, Lachenmann, and before that Penderecki is obviously a massive
Mm,
um influence. But I think all of this stuff helps the composition, and the composition helps the playing, and it all kind of feeds into itself. But I thought also just to say, if as you mentioned composition, um, it might be interesting. I mentioned it to Louis that I've been working recently on for Audible, doing Poirot. I've just done series 2, but series 1 was last year, and it was kind of really interesting project because they wanted it. It was set in the 1920s, and because it's an audiobook, there's no visual distraction. Like, it's
yeah,
purely you can purely kind of just completely get into it. Um, and so we did a lot of kind of, they wanted it to be sort of like this scratchy sound, and I realized that the wireless radio just really come into sort of wide use. So um, what I was doing, I made a lot of sounds with something I'd done a few years prior,
mm,
where my flatmate at the time had this old 50s stereogram, like multi-play 78 record player, those, one of those massive
yeah.
ones with speakers and a stack of 78s and a needle. And I had this China cymbal. I have this big, beautiful China cymbal. And I put it on the record, the needle on the cymbal, and turned the volume up on the machine. And so that we had a feedback going, riffling all the way through the cymbal and back and through the speakers, and recorded it with a mic through these old speakers
Wow.
from this
Well,
old
so what
machine.
kind of sounds did you make?
Well, just this kind of really haunting,
Wow.
scratchy, like metallic kind of yeah, weird thing that you just can't put your finger on. It scratches, and then it kind of has this yeah, ghost like quality. And then so putting that in a sampler and playing chords with this, and it's kind of pitching, the scratches are kind of being pitched all over the place. So I made this chorale piece for them, for one of the cues, using this sound. I thought that might be and it works really well. It went all across the whole soundtrack,
Oh,
these sounds, because they were very, they were amazing actually. Hat Trick Productions, they and director Alice Lowe, they really wanted something very lucid and experimental,
mm,
while kind of having this touch with with the 20s, very specifically that decade, not 30s, 20,
Yeah.
because and so yeah, it was just great. They were just all the time wanting more dark, more ethereal, more trippy, and it was just perfect for what I want to do in the first place. So it
So when is it
was
coming out?
great.
This new series?
The new that was the first series. The new series was more is 1930, so they wanted more jazz
Oh,
elements,
right.
kind
Okay.
of Benny Goodman, and so it's a completely different soundtrack this time, but still has the lucid. That's coming out in I think September or October. So yeah,
Well,
looking
I'll
forward to
definitely
that.
check it out because you got
Yeah.
my interest now. And actually, on that note, I was good because we talk about sounds, and so what kind of in archetypes, like what sounds makes you think, oh, a normal cello player would never do this?
Yeah, there's quite a few. I think probably when you say normal cello, you probably mean like a classical
Yeah,
player that plays in
yeah,
orchestras that doesn't experiment. Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, almost all of it probably, but there are some. Yeah, there are some ones that which I really like doing, which is some of the percussive stuff. So it's kind of like batuto,
Batuto. Yeah,
um, and a mix of batuto and slapping. So you kind of, so you can't see my hand maybe, but so the bow hits and the left hand hits, and you can move it along the string to get different timbre. So you can kind of get a really kind of flurry of energy from that. I think if I'm not mistaken, I haven't seen the thing, but I think we called it flutter snap
Fluttersnap. Yeah.
in the end, and it's kind of like you again you just forget what's happening, and just try and create bursts of this kind of percussive energy, um, and then maybe you can go into a beat, and then you can kind of go out of it, and you have this sort of control based on you're using it as a drum. But the thing is with the bow is it gives you infinite possibilities to make a
Mm,
different tone no matter how you use it, really, because you've got the hair, the tension of the hair, and then behind it the stick. So you can,
mm,
if you can turn the wood and just have less of the hair and more of the stick. And the harder you bounce it on the hair, the more of the stick goes through the hair onto the string. So you have this kind of like nuance where you can kind of create, and slapping also off different parts of the
yeah.
neck also creates a different filter, a kind of a mouth or kind of vowel sound. So that's really fun.
Wow.
And then there was another one which I always love doing, which is like creating this kind of feedback sound with overtones and harmonics, like with different, very subtle changes.
Yeah, is it harmonic sheen by chance? Is it called harmonic
Um,
sheen?
yeah,
I
it's
love
probably
that.
that one.
Love that.
Flare
Yeah,
harmonic,
exactly. With the
harmonic
harmonics, like
sheen, yeah, harmonic sheen.
very subtle, f- um, like a feather. Beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah,
love it.
and it's great. Like also with how I mic'd it, because I used two stereo Neumann KM 184, I think. And it was close enough to be able to play very lightly, but kind of capture any nuance that I would
Mm,
change, any
yeah.
angle or just slight pressure or anything. When you go a certain point near the bridge, it kind of amplifies it, and when you have a really nice mics going through, nice preamp,
Mm,
it kind of amplifies it even more. It's really fun. Yeah.
mm.
Uh,
And when you were actually when you because it must have been like a long recording process. I don't know how long it took, but did like do you always know what your limits are, or sometimes do you still surprise yourself?
I tend to surprise myself about a minute or two in,
Mm,
where I build something like the first time you go at something, it's sort of maybe you're too conscious. It's hard to stay present um, at the beginning, because you're constantly assessing the sound and like,
mm,
is this right? Is it? And you have all this kind of somebody said to me once, you're concentrating on the outcome rather than the
yeah.
process, and so it
Okay.
takes a bit of time for you to just seep into the process and
Mm,
forget the outcome, and then things come out where you suddenly pop up and think, oh, that's interesting, and then you go with that, and you think, oh
Mm,
yeah, I can build. This is going. This rolling. I can build. You know, things are happening basically, and then the more you kind of get into that and try and forget, and then inevitably things happen where it surprises you, where sounds come out that that you've not heard before, or it's still kind of like aligned with the general direction of the energy. So it's very satisfying.
yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. I love that. I mean, maybe it's not exactly the same, but also when you compose and you're in the flow and then maybe you make actually a mistake. It's not
Yeah,
the same, but I mean, it's like, oh, actually, I love that. And then you
yeah.
still
Oh, yeah.
surprise and yeah, in a way,
And
yeah.
it's actually not. I think of that. I have that all the time, and I just think that's not a mistake. That's just your reward for getting
Mm,
into that flow.
mm,
That's just the rewards. That's the pot of gold at the end of the
yeah,
rainbow. You know, it's like you're supposed to find that through kind of getting focused and into it, and if the mistake is yielding something good, it means that you're already well prepared enough to have that happen. I think, like, yeah, it's not really an accident. It's just that you've been working at it hard enough and long enough, and getting
yeah.
into it to the point where it happens for you, I think. Mm.
Mm. I think that that's a very nice way to put it. And because you're a composer as well, like, what would you like? And also, this is such a personal library for you. Like, what would you like a
Mm.
composer to feel once they load up Archetype for the first time?
Mm. Yeah, I think like I'd just touch a key and have an idea of where it could go next. I
Mm,
feel like that could be feasible. I think that could definitely be possible. Like touch a couple of keys on any given sound, and then have the idea of the next step
mm,
immediately. I
yeah.
think that's a
Uh, b-
realistic aim.
yeah. I could tell you, like, I find it extremely inspiring to play. And
Nice.
I don't know if you listen to the trailer music, but
Yeah.
I composed that
Yeah.
100% with the cello. There's nothing else, literally. And at the end of it, like, what? This is just a cello library, and look what it could do. Like, it's crazy. Like,
Nice. Yeah, I was blown away by that, by the way. I was
oh, thank
trying to
you.
find out who composed that, and if it was you. Man, it was great. Such nice harmonies and the changes and stuff. Really, really good. And yeah, so interesting to hear the sounds that I obviously been recording for so long being used like that, because that surprised me as well. I didn't have any kind of idea that it could sound like that, really. I just,
No, no,
yeah,
it's really like I wrote
happy
like a
surprise.
bunch of ideas, and then I think I started with the movements, with the. I mean, I generally love so many of them. Like, I think it was the chugs and some others.
Mm,
And then I often actually what I do is layer them. And I think the multis are exceptional. I don't know, you ever try them if you can. Like,
I
it's
can't
like
wait.
this combination of all these patches, um, and they're like just wow. Like, because you got like some bits from gestures, some bits of movements,
Mm,
and then together maybe panned a bit, like different effects sound fantastic. So that was my
nice.
starting
Yeah.
point. I mean, I was
Nice.
following the picture a bit, like, with an introduction. I had some useful feedback from Louis and Thomas because maybe for my excitement, the second part was like there was too much stuff going on. Like, because it was like what I love so much about the library is the creativity that overflows, and I kind of wanted people to appreciate and enjoy them. But at the same time, it was like you need to focus on what the background, foreground, and middle ground. And at first, I had too many things going on. Then I focus on some things, and then shift the dynamics to other things. But I had a ton of fun, generally, ton of fun with the
Yeah,
library.
it sounds
And
like it. No,
yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah. And at the end
yeah.
on the logo, I think it was the statements. This like this really peculiar sound, raw, intimate, with the energy. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, It's definitely one of my favorite libraries I've played in a long time. So, as a last question, I wanted to ask you. So, what's the one piece of
Mm.
advice you'd give to anyone using this library?
Just start minimal. Start with one key and see what you can do with that one key, and maybe keep holding it and see what happens with each sound, just to get an idea of what's going on. Because one of the things, like, I'm always trying to do is create shape with everything.
Mm,
So, for example, the chugs, for example, like dud 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 dud. Uh, everything needs to have a shape. So a lot of the times with the chugs, I try to grow a little bit and kind of bloom and come back. Um,
mm,
and you should be able to hear that with every sound, that it either starts strong and goes away, or um, yeah, because yeah, and in nature, nothing stays the same. So, like, we don't want to create anything mechanical, really. I don't.
mm,
I don't personally want to create anything mechanical that goes against what would happen in the world, in a
mm,
way, you know. So like, everything needs to have a development, or it needs to come from somewhere to somewhere else. So I would say, just play one key at a time and just hold it and see what happens with that particular take, or that one sound.
mm. I think that's a really good piece of advice. Start small and then expand, and maybe also combine, like, there's something maybe in movement, but there's something in gestures, statement, suspension. How do they blend together?
Mm,
And yeah, I think one thing we touched upon before is like look for the unexpected. What are some unexpected matches between sounds that kind of move you
yeah.
and make you feel something? Um,
Yeah, make you feel like that you have an idea for the next step. I think
mm,
this is what you're always looking for, is the next step. Just building and creating an environment, or the world, a convincing kind of uh environment, really, what you're doing, that makes sense. And it should all make sense. I mean, when I I always like to try it, but like when I recorded, like, all of them in my Logic session, I just so curious what it sounds like all this together. So I just press play, and it sounds all right. Like,
yeah.
it somehow it does fit. So I think with some direction, you can kind of like mold that, and kind of
Mm,
try to kind of, like, it's like plasticine, in a way, like you're trying to sculpt something with it. Um, but yeah, I think you have to have, first of all, a certain idea of what the material that you're working with,
mm.
and you can only do that kind of slowly, really. Yeah,
Mm, yeah.
yeah,
Well, thank you so much. I think it's been fantastic to chat with you,
yeah.
really. First, a pleasure to
Thank you.
meet you for the first time. The
Yeah,
face
man.
behind the sound is great.
Yeah,
And thank you for all your insight. I thought it was fascinating and really inspiring to hear. And I'll definitely
right.
try to push myself as well, like you do, in trying to, focus on the process and go with the flow.
Oh, it's difficult. Everybody has to find that difficult, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, we will do what we can. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you,
Mm.
Stefano.